Activision just never misses. I think I have more fun reading their matchmaking blog posts and research papers than I do actually playing the game at this point. It's more mentally stimulating than playing on any of the motionless Black Ops 6 maps or the super sweaty 6 new variants of Shipment that just came out. But anyways, I do this stuff so that you guys don't have to. And right now, we're going to look at Activision's second Q&A section, which is clearly skill themed, seeing as this paper in their new 30-page long research paper is about the measurement of skill in Call of Duty's matchmaking and why they still have it. And let me just warn you, Activision consistently gives a masterclass in gaslighting, so watch out, read carefully, and let me break it down for you. Question 1. Does competing against high-skill players make low-skill players better at the game? Playing a better opponent may push players to become more proficient over time, but being severely outperformed in their matches, our testing has shown, instead leads players to quit matches in progress or to not play multiplayer. And we're really starting off strong here. They do acknowledge that worse players playing better players makes them better over time, but that risks these players quitting and not spending money on bundles by extension. There are major flaws with their answer that points us towards the fact that they're not concerned about mixing players as much as they're just concerned about having players quit. Anything that risks players quitting is risking losing money, even if it's 1 to 2%, and we'll see that's actually how small the numbers are. What I first want to point out is that eomm has conditioned the worst players in the player base to think they're actually way better than they are. In older COD games where matchmaking was purely ping-based, these would be your negative KD players rocking a KD less than 1. However, with how evened out everything is nowadays and how badly the game is catered towards the lesser skilled audience, these players who don't actually understand how the real game is played or how to play the game properly are now rocking a 1 KD a majority of the time because of how the algorithm works. It wants to have players experience wins and losses proportionately regardless of skill level. And oh yeah, they actually said that verbatim in their first blog post. Another major flaw with this answer is the fact that they're making the assumption that players will consistently get blown out in matches if a skill measurement is removed from matchmaking. And they're jumping to a huge conclusion based on absolutely no data whatsoever and based on no evidence that lesser skilled players will constantly get destroyed by insane players. And that simply just isn't the case. You can't pretend like every single match is going to be a super negative experience, especially when the evidence provided in the skill research paper is this graph, and it only shows that 2% of players were actually quitting the game at a higher rate before. There was a 2% drop. 2% when the skill measurement was loosened. 2%. 2%. Additionally, you have to realize that lower skill percentiles of players are quite literally playing in the Matrix, where they're actually convinced that that's the real COD experience. They have no idea about the matchmaking in place and have never actually experienced the reality of the game. Activision doesn't genuinely think that bad players will constantly lose every single match. That's impossible. If all players were equally mixed, you'd only see maybe 1 super good player per game, and even that's a stretch. In X-Defiant, a game with ping-based matchmaking, you only run into maybe 1 great player per game, and it's not even that aggravating to deal with if you can shoot straight. And that's the problem. If you have basic first-person shooter skills, you should be able to deal with a good player the majority of the time. You won't beat them, but at least you won't get absolutely blown out because you're still capable of shooting at moving targets. Activision is trying to cater the matchmaking to players that genuinely lack FPS skill, where that should maybe be a requirement for playing a first-person shooter. They pretend that bad players will constantly be playing absolute sweat lords if the skill measurement is removed, when in reality, if team balancing functions properly, this won't be an issue, and games will be balanced and fair regardless. Don't buy this answer. It's clearly nonsense, and it jumps to conclusions without any data to back it up, which Activision does frequently. Question 2. Why does Call of Duty measure skill differently between game modes? Skill is split between all major core multiplayer modes, as proficiency in one mode doesn't necessarily indicate proficiency in others. Players should be able to play a mode like ranked play as intensely as they choose without impacting their experience in unranked multiplayer modes where players can, for example, experiment with loadouts. There's not much to elaborate on here, but just the fact that their ranked modes clearly still uses hidden MMR and doesn't matchmake based on rank is quite funny to me. They could easily keep your hidden MMR the same across the board, and it wouldn't make any difference whatsoever. Heck, even them saying they measure skill in ranked shows that you're not being matched based on your rank, rather you're being matched based on skill because eomm still exists in ranked, and they need to measure your skill in order to throw you matches to keep you engaged. Pretending like being sweaty in ranked is going to impact how competitive and unenjoyable public matches are at all is also just nonsense, especially when it's unlikely the casual fan base is even going to touch ranked in the first place. The philosophy behind this answer is good. Not wanting to have a ranked performance interfere with public matches is a good thing. However, it doesn't matter at all because of how criminally overbearing the public matchmaking is anyways. Question 3. Why is skill a factor in unranked core multiplayer modes when ranked play is available? Or I could translate this, why do you measure skill in pubs? Their answer. Ranked play is designed to deliver an expressly competitive environment. Accordingly, players must qualify for access to ranked play modes. Many players who have qualified for ranked play still choose to enter the game in non-ranked playlists. For new players and those who do not participate in ranked play, it's important they can contribute meaningfully to their team in their their own personal in-game achievements. The next matchmaking series white paper will further detail ranked play. They said this little sentiment about contributing meaningfully to their team a little bit earlier in this blog post as well. And observing that repetition, we can easily deduce that they think it's important that all players can perform proportionately within the game regardless of skill level. Oh yeah, they've said this verbatim before, and I just brought that up. The communism really is strong with their matchmaking philosophy. This really is what gaming has come to. They want little Timmy to buy the anime bundle skin so badly that they literally hand bad players a positive KD just so their fragile egos don't get damaged and they quit the game and don't buy skins. It is truly pathetic. When I first started playing COD, I was terrible at it, and I didn't know what was going on. Did I quit? Heck no, because I liked the game. I got matched against better players, I learned from them, I enjoyed the game, and so I developed my skills, and now watching players who were as bad as me when I first started getting handed free protected lobbies where they can go positive without any hassle due to a totally manipulative matchmaking algorithm. If I got stuck in that area of the matchmaking bracket and I was unaware of it, I would hate to learn that I wasn't getting any better compared to the actual player base and I was just getting chucked free 1KDs constantly. That system would suck to be in if you have a brain. If a skill measurement is removed from matchmaking and every single player in the demographic can be matched together and you quit the game because you're getting destroyed, maybe you don't actually like COD as much as you think you do. Huh, crazy thought. If you're quitting because you're bad and you don't enjoy the gameplay at its core, the 6v6 arcade multiplayer fast-paced objective-based gameplay with a fast TTK maybe isn't for you. Maybe just don't play Call of Duty. It is pathetic that the game is catered towards players that probably wouldn't even like the game anyways if they truly experienced what Call of Duty is really supposed to feel like. Question 4. Has Call of Duty considered launching a single core multiplayer playlist that does not use skill as a factor in matchmaking? Call of Duty has considered this option, and the team will continue to explore. Historical testing reveals that low and mid-skilled players would be unlikely to participate in such a playlist. As a match can only be created from players actively searching for a playlist, the likely result would be matches composed solely of high-skilled players. I'll give you a nice, simple translation for this answer. We are never ever going to add a playlist without a skill measurement and tell everyone that it's been removed. Historical testing, huh? When have they ever advertised that a playlist has no skill matching? Oh yeah, never. In any COD game ever. And also, it kind of makes sense that lower skilled players wouldn't want to join because they've been conditioned to be protected in bot lobbies for so long that playing with actually decent or good players would be a nightmare for them. And they wouldn't like that because their totally fake 1KD would go down the tubes. And if by historical testing they mean the couple of game modes that we suspect had skill matching turned down or turned off, like Minefield a couple months back, then that barely counts as a test. One, because I played it and the skill matching was definitely turned off, and it was the most fun I've had playing COD in the past 3 years. And 2, because there were sweats, but there were also just average players and total bots playing that mode, and I was not queuing up with only sweats. So they're doing something fishy by claiming that historical testing shows that this idea wouldn't work. It clearly did not matter before, and everyone still played that playlist, and even if casuals didn't realize that the skill matching was gone, they were still queuing up for it, and they were not quitting in the middle of each match. I'll tell you, it's a really hard job to defend the most manipulative and overbearing matchmaking in the entire history of gaming, and is technically gambling. And they're trying their best, but we can already predict every answer. They will never back down from their matchmaking because it protects the bad players and pushes players to buy microtransactions, because they think they're good when they buy skins, and they think they're good by default anyways, even when all types of players are separated and never experience the true game. Even when you do buy skins, you're just a walking advertisement, and based on this Activision-owned patent, you're getting tossed into easier lobbies to stomp on some people who don't own that skin to maybe convince them to buy it. Never forget that this matchmaking will never change because it's shown to make money, and it's all about making money and not about genuinely harboring a good ecosystem where people that enjoy Call of Duty can have fun online playing with each other. You're way better off playing X-Defiant, or any other game for that matter, because Call of Duty is really unbelievable with their matchmaking. It is terrible. As soon as you have a functioning cranium, you'll know that their matchmaking papers and blogs are nothing more than methods of gaslighting their audience into believing that their matchmaking is not manipulative and that it's the absolute best for everyone. But that's all I got for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm Prime Pete. Take it easy.